Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be back here this morning with you all. And today we are going to be talking about finding equanimity, not only in ourselves, in our bodies, with each other, and in the world. Because we know that right now, our world is full of unchanging circumstances that are constantly changing. And right now, in particular, we're living in a time where things have gotten pretty scary for a lot of folks. Things feel very uncertain. Much of our structure that our lives were built upon has kind of been dismantled in a lot of ways. So in a sense, the rug was kind of pulled out from beneath many of us. And so we are being forced to acclimate and orient ourselves to like a new climate, right? Like a new landscape. We're having to create structure, new paradigms. We're having to look at the ways we were living our lives and make the necessary changes and figure out how to adapt pretty quickly. And for a lot of us, that can be really disorienting, and a lot of us can have many judgments about it. I know for myself, I go in and out of periods where I feel okay and I feel accepting and I feel kind of peaceful with the way things are. And then I go through times where I feel really resistant to the change, and I feel really angry, and I feel really scared about what's to come, and what if this and what if that. And so if we go down that rabbit hole, as many of you know, we can create a lot of suffering for ourselves. And if we go down the rabbit hole of attaching and clinging, right, to the things that we love, we can also create a lot of suffering for ourselves, simply because what we know about circumstances is that they are always changing, and there isn't any permanence to them. And so if we cling to things that are not permanent, we do tend to increase our suffering in this life. And many wisdom traditions, many spiritual and religious paths speak about this concept of equanimity in many different ways. Excuse me. So yeah, spring is definitely upon us at the moment. So with that said, today we're going to do a quick practice just to kind of explore this concept of equanimity, right? So equanimity basically means things are balanced, things are equal, meaning I don't have a preference for any one circumstance or another. We tend in our lives to label things as good or bad. And so when we are really practicing and approaching our lives with a sense of equanimity, things are not good and they're not bad. They just are, right? And everything has a quality, everything has an essence, everything has sort of an energetic presence to it. And so it's really not good nor bad. It just is, right? And we know this because we have had experiences that have been really, really wonderful and amazing, and we've probably felt enormous amounts of joy and happiness, right, in response to that circumstance. And then we've also had situations and experiences that have felt pretty unfavorable, have felt pretty bad, have felt pretty awful, and in response to that, we've often felt sad or depressed or angry, right? And so we know that our bodies, our beings, are these miraculous, structures that can feel a range of emotions and feeling. And so it kind of goes back to that teaching that we touched upon last week about how we want our bodies and our minds and our hearts to be this open space, like a sky, right, where there are clouds moving in and out of it versus being the clouds, right, themselves, because the clouds are always changing. And so if we cling to sadness or we cling to happiness or joy, then we're going to increase that chance that we suffer versus not clinging, not attaching, and not avoiding, right? So humans are very good at seeking out pleasure and avoiding pain, right? That's kind of what we do a lot of the time, is we will continue to grasp and cling at the things that make us feel good and try to avoid the things that bring pain. But pain is inevitable, right? Pain is inevitable, but as they say, suffering is a choice, right? So, and that is not meant to say, like, that's not a blanket statement, meaning to say that people that are suffering have, chosen this for themselves. That's not what that means. But basically, we, in a sense, we do have a choice whether we want to see circumstances as really terrible or a part of this, this life that is so impermanent and transient. So let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat. Remember that comfortable seat is more than half the battle, because we don't want our bodies to be distracted by sensations. We don't want our bodies to be distracted by discomfort. We don't want to get pulled out of the practice. So go ahead and first allow your eyes to close and notice that you have two eyes, right? I'm sure you're all fully aware of that, but we have two eyes. If you think about it, our bodies are quite symmetrical, not perfectly symmetrical, but our bodies have a symmetry to them, right? And so that right there, just looking at the structure of our bodies, there is this sense of balance, right? And if you just notice for a second, and that, that doesn't take in, all bodies are different. All bodies are constructed differently. But just if you can kind of drop in and kind of sense that balance in your body. So however you're sitting, maybe lean to the right, lean to the left, and just kind of notice like how your weight shifts back and forth, and that you have this really nice sort of way to kind of balance and center yourself. And if you kind of bring your awareness to the back of your body and kind of sense the way the spine sort of grows out of the pelvis, keeping your back nice and tall, keeping your back nice and long, and just kind of breathing into the space of your chest or your belly, or maybe even the base of your throat, and just kind of notice how those muscles will expand your body forward in space. So we have all of these different directions that our body moves, especially when we're breathing. You might notice on your next breath that the breath expands the lower back a little bit into the space behind you. So just kind of feeling and sensing the breath, and notice all of the different directions that the breath moves the body out into space. This can be a slight gesture, it can feel like a bigger gesture. Just really taking a few breaths to really come into a kind of a relationship with the breath. Noticing its movement, its flow, its rhythm. Then I'm going to ask you to kind of scan your body for a moment. And you might start at the crown of your head and just kind of work your way down. But it's almost as if you're taking a flashlight and kind of shining it on the inside of your body. And I'd like to invite you to kind of scan the body and notice. Look for places that might feel imbalanced. Right, so maybe you notice maybe one shoulder is higher than the other, and then you take a nice breath and kind of soften the shoulders. And maybe you notice there's a sensation somewhere that's creating a little bit of discomfort, and maybe you offer breath to that area, or maybe some gentle movement, just kind of really responding to whatever that part of your body needs. And just continuing to scan, kind of noticing each side. If you notice the right hand, then take a moment and notice the left hand. You notice the left ankle, then notice the right ankle. And all we're doing is we're scanning. We're looking for places in the body that we might be pushing away sensation, trying to avoid or ignore. Maybe there's pain, maybe there's tension. Or perhaps there's a particular emotion that you're feeling this morning that you're just not wanting to feel, and you're wanting to kind of push it away, or pretend that it's not there. And as we do this, we're learning how to ride the waves of sensation, of feelings, of thoughts that are very transient. They come and they go. And the more we fixate, if we have a certain pain or discomfort in the body, and we fixate upon that pain, then that pain is only going to grow, because the more we try to push it away, the bigger it gets. And same with a feeling that we love, right? So say it's a feeling of euphoria or joy, and we're trying to cling to that, right? That can also create more suffering, because that joy might just be a transient feeling that we're feeling in response to something. So the more we try to cling to it, the more our suffering grows. Because here will come another circumstance that elicits a different response, right? We can't feel joyful and happy towards everything that happens, just as we can't feel sad or depressed or scared at everything that happens. So our bodies can be really great teachers in this sense, especially if you're a person who lives with chronic pain, or if you're a person who lives with discomfort in your body. You know what happens when you really focus on that pain. You kind of miss like the rest of the landscape in the body. You miss all of the other sensations that can bring about a sense of peace and light and relaxation and calm. Just take a few more breaths, keeping that inward gaze, keeping that inward focus. Just noticing sensations and breath as they arise and dissolve. As you release one breath, one exhale, we make space for the next breath. And each breath is a new opportunity, it's a new experience. It is always offering us the opportunity to come back, right? To come back, to get recentered. Take one more deep, full breath in and release that with a sigh. So I thank you for allowing me to be in your space this morning, in your home, in your office, wherever you may be. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. So please, again, if you like this video, feel free to comment, feel free to share it with others who might need it. And as always, we are open, we are fielding calls. So if you or anyone you know is in need of mental health care or support, please reach out, and we are here to provide that care to you during this time. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.